Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Corey.
And I'm Matt. And each week, this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, excite us, or just need an extra bit of conversation.
Now, on this week's episode, we're following through on a promise we made weeks ago. We're going to give a shout out to everyone who completed our online car bingo. As always, this is a discussion about all things automotive, and that doesn't just mean Matt and myself. We want you to get involved, and we've got many ways for you to do that, whether it's through social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They are all at GT Garage Talk. You can give us an email at gtgaragetalk@gmail.com. Visit our website, gtgaragetalk.com, which has a link to all of our social media plus our YouTube channel. And you can get to us in any of those ways. We truly love hearing back from you, our listeners, our fans.
Absolutely.
This was a very fun little project that we did.
It exploded. It was awesome to see all my friends posting all over the place. And
so we're all stuck at home, working from home. The world's a little bit different as of right now. This is being recorded on April, what are we? April 15th? 14th.
14th,
yeah. April 14th.
Finish your taxes.
Get them done. So as of this recording, Texas still has a shelter in place. I'm still working from home from my day job. And just to kind of break up some of the monotony, I thought, let's start a little game online. And so I created a card bingo board and shared it with all of our fans and everyone who follows our channel on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. And the response we got was actually really fun. We promised a shout out to anyone who completed a bingo. And so I've got right here in front of me, can you hear it? The list of all the results that I could find. Some of them followed all the instructions quite well. Others made it interesting for me.
I'll admit, I don't think I quite followed all of the instructions to a T myself. So,
well, all that to say, if I leave you off and you completed a board, I truly apologize. Shoot me an email. I will give you a personal shout out on a
absolutely.
But first, why don't we start off with your hosts for this show? So I told Matt earlier when he and I were discussing this, it was a fairly easy board. There were several kind of repetitive items on there. I think we had wrecked a car and totaled a car. If you had totaled a car, you'd obviously wrecked one. So there were some pretty easy gimme duplicates on there. And most everyone I saw who played, granted, you're probably not going to share it if you didn't get close to a bingo, but pretty much every board I saw had a bingo or was one away from it. So I started counting how many of the 25 squares were actually completed. Matt, I don't know if you've looked at the cheat sheet yet. Do you have any guesses which one of us completed more?
Well, I pulled mine back up just for reference because I couldn't remember for sure, but I think you had one or two more colored in than I did.
False.
Oh, really?
Yep. So I had 18 of 25. And in fact, the one I shared, I stupidly had left one off that I had done, which was change my own oil. I just got too excited and crossed some things off. But I had 18 of 25 or 72%. So I passed.
Oh, there you
go. You beat me by a whole letter grade. You had 21 of 25. So
that's what I was thinking.
You almost had a full board.
Let's see, which ones was I missing? Oh, okay. Yeah, never driven for Uber or Lyft. I've never driven a car with cooled seats. Plenty of heated seats vehicles, but never one with a cooled seat. We actually have a couple of school buses where I work that have a heated driver's seat. It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Bought a car on the internet. Now, I will say, I have found cars on the internet,
right.
But I have not actually completed the purchase entirely online. So that I left that one off on purpose. And kind of the same caveat with driven an electric car. I think I mentioned this last episode. I've driven golf carts and forklifts and stuff like that, but never an automobile that was all electric.
So I've got car shows to thank for me being able to cross off electric vehicle.
Yeah.
So I drove Chevy Bolt. I think I've already talked about that on the podcast, but it was a fun little experience. And then you were talking about buying a car online. So we did a whole episode about tips and tricks for buying cars online, and we were like, no, don't do it, don't do it. Then the world changed.
Yeah.
And now, like, we don't want to come in contact with people until this virus is gone. And dealerships are going crazy, offering contactless purchasing and stuff like that. We even talked about Carvana. So I've dug into a little bit further the process of Carvana.
Yeah.
And they already had the steps in place. They just had to go like one step further to go completely contactless. And I started messing with the app today.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty easy process. I was tempted to find a car on there for us to review because you have like a 7-day return window. I was like, The only thing that kept me from doing it was you had to apply for credit and do all that stuff, and I wasn't about to. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I haven't done buying or selling a car online. I've done research, but I haven't done that. I did drive for Uber and Lyft. And let me tell you, that was an experience. So it was in my Chevy Cruze, so not an overly large car. It seats 4 people comfortably, 5 if you have to. So here in Tyler, Texas, every October we have a big tourism event. We are known for our roses here in Tyler, Texas. And so we have the Rose Festival. There's a parade. There's a queen and her court. There's all these fancy dresses. There's a parade. Like, it goes all out.
It's crazy.
So, yes, just go to visittyler.com and look for Rose Festival, and you will see everything you need to know about it, including this year's Rose Festival information. So I saw this as an opportunity. My wife works in tourism. She was busy at the event working. I was like, I've got the afternoon to myself. What do I got to lose? So I turned on, I think it was Uber. I'm signed up for Uber and Lyft, but turned on Uber, had a few jobs around town, like picked somebody up from the mall, took her home, nothing major. And then I got one from a Mexican food restaurant on the square, and it was 4 college girls. Yep, 4 college girls that were a friend to the queen or a friend to someone in the queen's court. Anyway, they were involved with the festival. And so they had been celebrating at the Mexican food place by the time I got them. And so they needed a ride safe, to the festival from where they were eating. So I picked them up. Now, I mentioned my car seats 4 comfortably. That includes the driver, 5 if you had to. Well, all 4 of these college-age girls got in the back seat because with Uber and Lyft, you're riding the back. So they were all back there, crammed in as tight as they could. I was nervous the whole time because I'm like, I could get pulled over for this. Like, but it was a short trip. So I took them, dropped them off, no big deal. Their conversations were interesting. We'll leave it at that. I drive like maybe one more person, and then I get dinged for somebody needing a ride from where the festival is going on to Flint, which is close to where my parents live. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Turns out it's the same 4 girls. And so I was taking them home. And Harambe, does that name ring any bells to you?
No.
He was the gorilla. I won't go too deep into this because there was a whole political, social fallout around this. But he was the gorilla that was put down because a child fell into its enclosure. Yeah. And yes, apparently, I found out while driving for Uber, these girls in particular, that there was a song about poor Harambe and
Oh,
the
no.
life that was cut too short.
Oh, no.
I never drove for Uber again. that was the last one.
That one put you over the edge. It was, yeah.
I was done at that point. I
That's
couldn't.
too
I couldn't
funny.
do it anymore. So yeah, interesting stories. And I've ridden with some interesting people around here in Tyler as well. So it's been fun. It's a good way to make some extra cash, but uh, that's all I see it as right now. But again, with everybody in self-isolation, quarantine, stay-at-home, shelter-in-place, whatever you want to call it, I don't imagine that market is doing too well right now. But anyway, back to our shout-outs.
All the bars are closed, so nobody needs a ride home right now.
Exactly. So, all right. So we're going to start with the fewest amount of completed squares that
Okay.
still completed a bingo and work our way up.
Cool.
You have a slight personal connection to our first entrant.
All
It
right.
would be your sister, Noelle McWilliams.
Never heard of her.
She had one bingo, and she completed 10 of 25 squares. So,
Okay.
not too shabby.
Yeah.
And not all of these squares had a negative connotation, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Next up, one of our good friends, Hannah Kirkpatrick.
Yeah.
And I had to give her a hard time when I saw her completed board because she very recently totaled her vehicle.
Oh, that's right.
Very recently. And that was actually crucial to her getting her bingo.
Bingo.
Had that
No.
had that not happened, she wouldn't have had a bingo.
Oh, that's horrible.
But she could have had another bingo if she just would have named a car. So I was like,
Oh, okay.
"Man, you
All
really
right.
went the hard route on that one. You couldn't just think of a name. Like, you had to go big, right?"
Oh, man.
So, Hannah, way to go big. That's all I got. Go big or go home. So, next up, Lacey Schwartz. I'm not friends with Lacey, but Lacey, congratulations. You closed out 15 of the 25 squares. Not bad. Next up, another mutual friend of ours, John Mercer.
Yeah.
He actually had two bingos. So double bingo, billed out 17 of 25, so 68. So you still failed. So, sorry, John, but he is the last of our sub 70 percenters. So the next one is a friend of mine, Stacy Lynn. She's the sister to a really good friend of mine. She even put, when she shared her picture, she said, "Clearly I'm high risk. Don't tell Geico my answers." So you can tell she probably wasn't filling out the heated and cooled seats. It was probably the rent-a-car, the speeding ticket, all the fun ones. But she did 18 of 25 or 72%. Philip Anderson, good friend of both of ours, pastor. He had three bingos with his 18 of 25. Let's see, Cheston Phillips, he had 19 of 25s, three bingos there. Next up, Danny Thorson. Any
Yeah, I know that guy.
He only had two bingos, but he filled out 20, so his combination of where they connected, but 20 out of 25, that's 80% mark, so solid B there. Then going to a friend from high school, I believe we'll be talking about him a little bit in the next episode for other reasons, but Chad Brown, I thank you. He even shared it and had quite a few boards in the thread of his answer, but he had three bingos and again 20 of 25, so way to go, Chad. Next up, I believe was on the comments of Chad's post is Sarah Williams. He had 20 of 25, but six bingos. So,
dang.
Yeah. Next up, so Hannah's husband, Stacy's brother, Brandon Kirkpatrick. Looks like he had me beat but not you. He had 3 bingos and 20 out of 25. So
Cool.
he said he could have done more, but he's in that rare group. He's only had one vehicle his entire life.
No kidding.
Yeah. Now, he and his wife have had several, but like his personal daily driver has been the same one. And
Man.
yeah, I'm just looking. I'm like, there's a period of time where every 2 years I was getting a new one.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, the car guy in me is like, man, how could I don't know that I could do that. But that Dodge Ram has held up together for him. Next up, with 4 bingos, 21 out of 25, Andrew Scott Throkeld.
That's my cousin.
Next up, oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
howdy, Andrew. Nice to meet you. Next up, Steve Bailey. I don't believe this one was actually posted. It was just how many he got completed. It was in the comment section. He got 21 out of 25.
Nice.
Again, I don't know how many bingos he got. Next up, Ryan Hingle. 5 bingos and 22 out of 25. Next up, Chad Phillips. Same story. 5 bingos, 22 out of 25. Next up, Cameron Rogers. Same story. Next up with 6 bingos, still 22, Scott Hibbler.
Okay.
If I'm saying that correctly. You would think with my last name, Fornique, that weird names wouldn't bother me and I'd just get all of them perfect. But I'm really making sure I get all these letters in some of these names and pronounce them correctly. Next up, Jonathan Wegner, 23 out of 25. Joshua Franklin, 23 out of 25. Then we've got a mutual friend of ours, Mark Ledyard. 7 bingos, 23 out of 25, 92%. Not too bad. And then, man who almost broke our board.
No kidding.
Almost had a blackout. So 24 out of 25, 10 bingos, if I counted all the different directions properly. Your brother-in-law, Noel's husband, his name on Facebook, and I believe Instagram and Twitter, Zach James, but Zach McWilliams, almost got a blackout board. We just need to get that boy into a Tesla.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. Yeah, I did reach out to him to see if he wanted to take his reward and come on as a guest for our show, but he said he couldn't come on without his lawyer present. So,
I mean, some of those answers are pretty incriminating. So
yeah, so we might have to pry a little bit harder and try and get some good stories out of him.
Oh yeah,
for a
definitely.
Future episode.
Definitely.
But yeah, he declined to partake without his lawyer present. But yeah, so those are our bingo shout outs. We thank everyone for playing along. It was a fun experience. To that end, I've created a second bingo board. I didn't put it out on social media, but I can. It's on our website, as is a lot of other fun stuff. So we're all in this together. Whether you're stuck at home or you're having to homeschool a kid, whatever the case may be, we've got a lot of fun stuff on our website. Just go to gtgaragetalk.com/activities. We've got coloring pages that you can print out that are completely original. You can color our logo. In fact, I've got some here. My 2-year-old is quite the artiste. So for those watching on YouTube, here is our Garage Talk logo as colored by a 2-year-old.
Nice.
A lot going on. Mommy and Daddy may have helped with some of the letters, but yeah. Then we've got a GMC Terrain. Let's see. Oh, purple Jeep, but it's upside down. So got a purple Jeep.
Nice.
Let's see. Nissan Kicks.
Ooh.
So, and then Toyota Camry. Very nice.
So, nice job, Tucker.
But yeah, we've got coloring pages. We've got a word search. My wife's really into word searches, so I created a couple word searches. One of the word searches is actually based on input you, our listeners, gave us for our Dream Car Bracket Challenge. And while I'm talking about that, we are in the midst of a bracket challenge. So sports are off the air right now. We need to do something fun. I got a little late into the game for March Madness, but that didn't happen anyway. But we have got a bracket challenge going on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where you can vote every day for a new competition. Today's, like I said, it's April 14th. We've got Ferrari Testarossa versus Lamborghini Miura. And the voting is actually tight for this one. By the time you're listening to this, we will know who the winner is. This is the first one I'm actually going to have to count all the votes up across all three platforms to see who the winner is. Because Facebook has their opinion, Instagram has their opinion, and Twitter doesn't know what's going on.
And if people didn't vote for the mirror, they're wrong. I'm just saying.
Controversial opinions. But yeah, so that's been a really fun experiment that we've been going through. All the voting is done on our Facebook story and our Instagram story. If you don't know what that is, go to our page, click on our logo. It should pop up with voting. And there's a little bright red arrow pointing at where you vote. And that's been really fun. It'll be really interesting because we only had 32 cars to vote on. The bracket kind of worked out weird. Like we had a Jeep Wrangler against a Jeep truck, Gladiator truck.
Yeah.
So it's really which do you prefer, and the internet got it wrong. But so round two is going to be even more interesting because we've got the Plymouth Prowler against the Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, wow.
Two totally separate vehicles as to why you would purchase them. But round two should be even more interesting than round one was.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore because the Ford GT is out, so everything else is just happenstance.
I was actually surprised by that. So
I really
our
was
first
too.
entry was Ford GT versus Corvette C8 Corvette.
Yeah.
And the Corvette won handily. And the only thing I can think of there is it's newer. It may have been the pictures I chose, but the GT, I'm a Chevy guy through and through. The GT is a beautiful car.
Yeah. Oh,
so,
man.
I'm not quite sure what fell down there, but as a Chevy guy, I'm okay with it.
Of course you are. Well, and I think I said this in one of the threads of messages in the midst of all of that. I think it came down to price point, really, on that one. Because, I mean, $500,000 versus $65,000, one seems a lot more attainable than the other by far. So
I think the Corvette also has a little more broad appeal. Like, more people know what a Corvette is.
True.
And what a Ford GT is. Because
a little more stream.
While the
mainstream.
While the GT40 was around in the 60s, there's a whole movie even created about its creation. It doesn't have the storied history. It disappeared after that first generation, and now it's more of a hypercar tribute car than it is a Le Mans racer. So,
but it does that really well too. So
yeah. So, I was a little surprised by that, but generally speaking, most of these have gone the way I figured they would go.
Yeah.
And like I said, it'll be really interesting to see how round two goes. That being said, we had one of the funniest comments last night about yesterday's matchup. We had Eleanor, the Ford Mustang GT500 from Gone in 60 Seconds, up against a Shelby Cobra. And I'll keep it PG. Just suffice it to say, we had a very good comment from our friend Daniel, and had both of us rolling on the floor.
Oh man, it was great.
He was in much anguish over having to choose between the two of them.
That's a very PG way of saying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What's even more interesting to me is seeing people who nominated a vehicle for the competition vote against it when it actually came. So, like, my wife was one of the ones who said the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Right.
And I put it up against the General Lee just because of how most of the brackets made sense, and that's just where that one fell. Back to the Future was 1985 movie, and Dukes of Hazzard ended its TV run in 1985. So they were both 80s icons, so to speak, even though they weren't both 80s models cars. So anyway, I put those up against each other, and she voted for the General Lee.
Of course.
I'm like, you nominated the DeLorean. Like, what's going on? So,
but that's the beauty of the bracket, though. I mean, like usually when guys fill out a March Madness bracket, they don't necessarily have their team winning.
Right.
They want the bracket to be right, so they're going to pick the team that they think is going to win the whole thing. May not be their preferred team. So I would. It's definitely interesting, but I also understand too. Plus, it's the general. I mean,
yeah. So I've already determined, we're not even round 2 yet, but I have determined for next year, we're going to start reaching out to you, our fans, our listeners, in January to start filling out and populating our bracket for next March. So we're going to have plenty of lead time. We're going to get lots of entries and submissions, and we're going to do a bigger bracket with an extra round in there because this has been extremely fun. I just want more voting, like maybe 2 matches in a day instead of just 1. But we may even add an extra element to it next year. We shall see. But it's been really fun, and I look forward to posting it every morning and seeing where the votes go. Like I said, not too many have really surprised me, but it's been fun.
I would love to do a bracket challenge where we could, like, you fill out a bracket, I fill out a bracket, the way that we would fill out our own, and then have a challenge go out to everybody to fill out a bracket, and whoever gets the closest to one of our brackets would, get a T-shirt or something like that. I think that would be a cool way of doing it too.
A T-shirt, you say?
A T-shirt?
Wherever find Garage Talk T-shirts. So, perfect segue, Matt. You didn't even know you were doing that, did you?
Show them the back too. Show them the back.
For all y'all watching on YouTube, we have T-shirts and merchandise available on GTGarageTalk.com. So check it out. Go purchase a T-shirt with "Hey Gearheads" right across the front and our logo on the back. For those of you listening on the podcast, they come in several colors, several designs. Currently, my wife and I have 2 one-of-a-kinds because I've tweaked the design a little bit since we ordered these samples. These were actually samples. And so we've got some merch out there. You can go purchase. We've got stickers. We've got mugs. Do I have backpacks yet? No, stickers, mugs, and T-shirts at this point. But
now you have to
looking to expand. I know, right? But so that is one way you can give back to our channel. We're saving up to buy better podcasting equipment, especially once all this coronavirus stuff is behind us and we can meet in person again. And we've alluded to it before, but Matt and I have aspirations of doing car review videos for our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We could do that currently, and we might even start.
Oh, really?
With the equipment we have, we've both got iPhones and things of that nature, but the quality just won't be the same without the gear that we're looking to purchase. But you can go to gtgaragetalk.com/support, and it'll line out. We've got 6 different ways you can give back to the channel and help us reach our goal and create better content for y'all, which is especially important during these times where we're all searching for content to watch because sports are gone. I think even American Idol is on hiatus right now because they tape all their stuff live. And so that's just where we are right now. And we intend to keep creating content for you, our listeners, and that is a pledge that we make to you. But we definitely want to grow and make better content for you the further we go. So
definitely.
That's what we've got there. So all plugs, all shout outs, all that aside, again, I've referred to today being April 14th, 2020. Just so happened that, we've changed our recording schedule to record today specifically. And this morning, news dropped that like it made my day. It was beautiful, wonderful news. And Matt, I'm just going to play you a sound clip really quickly. You may have already heard it or seen it online, but I'm quite proud of this
Well, if
one.
if you're proud of it, I know for sure it's not the Bronco. Oh
You
yeah,
probably
no,
can't
that's
even.
not a Bronco.
No, no. So Cadillac is teasing us just a little bit today. They dropped news. Uh, they've got some naming things that they are working through, but their V series are their track cars, their performance cars, and they've, with their newest iteration, they've uh, just the standard V is now just a slightly better Turbo 6 version that's not really track worthy. But today, April 14th, they announced the creation of the Blackwing. So the CT5, which is the bigger sedan, and the CT4, smaller sedan, will both come in a V Blackwing version. We put pictures and video just this morning as soon as we heard about them on our Facebook and Instagram to let all of you, our listeners, know about it. But it's quite exciting. But the biggest exciting news is if you catch from the sound effect that I just played, they're going to come with a 6-speed manual. So
Okay, so
save the manuals.
I had two questions about this. Okay, the
Yes,
first one was, is it going to have a manual? Right. The
yes,
second
yes.
question was, will there be a shooting brake?
So no, there won't be a wagon version of either. And you can see the camouflage pictures. They're both the sedan version. There won't even be a coupe version. Car and Driver is sharing more information, so it's a little controversial in the deep car nerd community, them calling the track models Blackwing, because Cadillac previously had a Blackwing V8 twin turbo engine. Like that was the name of the engine, the designation of it.
Oh,
It only came in the CT6 sedan, and it is now deceased engine. And now they're using that same moniker for their track version of
right.
these cars. So there's a little confusion there, but I think for one, it's an awesome name, Blackwing,
Oh yeah.
and it signifies something special. So CT5 Blackwing will come with I believe it's a 6.2 liter engine that they've been putting in Camaros and Corvettes for years now, and yes, it will come with a 6-speed manual transmission. So the CT4V will have to do with a twin turbo V6. Um, all official announcements they're still holding back on. I've got the press release pulled up right now, but they just I'll read you quickly the press release from Cadillac.
Yeah.
Cadillac today announced that the fourth generation of its V Series sub-brand, currently spearheaded by the 2020 CT4V and CT5V, will eventually include ultra-performance variants that carry the Blackwing name. The future track-capable vehicles will be called CT4V Blackwing and CT5V Blackwing. That's a mouthful. Representing the apex of Cadillac performance and driver engagement. The Blackwing name has come to represent the very best of Cadillac performance engineering, craftsmanship, and technology, said Brandon Vivian, Cadillac Executive Chief Engineer. The new CT4V Blackwing and CT5V Blackwing build on the brand's respected legacy and ultimate performance driving experience to elevate them even further. The V-Series Blackwing models will feature specially tuned chassis, vehicle control technologies, and engines. Each model will also be offered with a manual transmission, a feature most luxury brands no longer offer, but continues to be a strong desire for many performance driving enthusiasts. In fact, these will be the only cars in the luxury sedan market This is me talking, not the press release. They will be the only luxury sports sedans with a manual transmission.
Really?
So, yeah. The CT4V Blackwing and CT5V Blackwing have been undergoing testing that includes sessions at tracks and road courses around the country. Earlier this year at Virginia International Raceway, each car set lap times seconds faster than the legendary ATS-V and CTS-V, of which they are replacing.
Right.
Information about the current V-Series vehicle, including the 2020 CT5V and CT4V, can be found on Cadillac.com, and more V-Series Blackwing information will be made available at a later date.
So is this... you're a GM fanboy. I'm
Yes.
a Ford fanboy.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pick at you just a little bit, right?
Go for it.
All right. So CT5, or is it the CT4 that is a Camaro with a bigger body on it?
Technically, they're both built on the same platform as the Camaro.
Okay.
The CT5 is a stretched out version of it, so it is the CT4 that is more Camaro equivalent,
right?
If you had to have a direct comparison.
Okay, but with that means everything that they have done with the ZL1 1LE, with the MagnaRide and all this stuff that now they're adapting into the C8 and things like that can all be translated directly to the Blackwing versions. So really, is it going to be a performance-built vehicle, or is it going to be a conglomeration of parts?
Well, so that platform has always been designed as a performance-first platform.
Okay.
You mentioned it's shared with the Camaro. The Camaro is a performance car. Like, that is its primary function, is to be performance. And Cadillac's goal right now is to be the standard of the world. And right now, when you're talking luxury cars and sports sedans, that's where it is being athletically tuned vehicles. So it won't be a conglomeration of parts. It was always working towards this end.
Gotcha.
So
okay,
I'm very excited about it, and
sure.
I very much look forward to testing some with you one day very soon. That is the goal. So I mentioned when I was reading this earlier, so they currently have a CT4V and a CT5V available, but all reviews and other YouTube channels that I've watched, they say the chassis is amazing, the steering is amazing, but it's just they didn't give it enough power, and they realized if it got the power it deserved, it would probably need some better tuning, which this Blackwing should address. Added power, and Cadillac, since really introducing the V sub-brand, has always had a very good reputation in the car enthusiast community for producing a very good performance vehicle. It may not be the most luxurious or the most refined, but their pedigree is there. They've got the history to back it up, with all of General Motors' history behind them. So,
well, and the
very exciting news.
Yeah, one of the strong suits, you mentioned the handling and tuning. One of the strong suits of the Camaro over the Mustang currently is the steering feel, the feedback, all that that the steering that the Camaro provides versus the Mustang. The Mustangs have gotten better over the past couple of years, but the two current generations, I think the Camaro still edges out a little bit on the Mustang in that regard.
Yeah, I've even seen comparison tests from like Car and Driver and Motor Trend where a much more powerful Mustang loses to a less powerful Camaro because the Camaro has the better all-around package.
Right.
So that's one I would very much like to explore firsthand. Again,
definitely.
And come to our own conclusions instead of having to read others' opinions on the matter.
Absolutely.
But so that was the first surprise I had for you in this week's episode. Just because it dropped today, it'll be old news by the time this episode drops. Who knows? We may know more by then. But I was very excited to wake up this morning and get that information that the manual transmission lives on. That
Oh yeah.
Cadillac is doing it right, and that a V8 will be going in the CT5. So I drive by a Cadillac dealership every day. The CT5 is a beautiful car. Like, I think it's even more beautiful than the CTS was. They're finally getting this styling right. Like, so they used to call it art and science. Now everything is Cadillac Escala based, which was a concept they had from a few years ago.
Okay.
And their styling has definitely stepped up. But I'll be sure for anyone watching on YouTube to throw a picture on for those to see. If you're listening, I'll put pictures and links in the show notes on the podcast, but you can always check us out on YouTube as well. But
It's
there's that.
yeah. It's I'm looking. I just googled the CT5 in the 2021 CT4 CT5 Blackwing, whichever one is the red one.
The red one is the CT5.
Okay, the CT5. Uh, the roof line is pretty reminiscent of the Stinger, actually.
Yeah.
With
Yes,
the elongated back glass that tails all the way to the back of the car. I like it. It's different, but it looks good on that rig.
It almost looks like it could be a hatch. They've got a little fake window behind the back door.
Right.
It's a really good, smart looking car. And like I said, you're looking at camouflaged pictures, but if you look at the real thing, yeah, it's a good looking car. Like I said, I'll put links in the show notes.
Yeah.
For those of you listening on podcasts. And then one last thing. I said I was going to poke the bear.
Well, wait, there's more.
Yes. So you were giving me a hard time for my fanboy tendencies. So
Oh boy.
Porsche, or Porsche as you call them.
Uh-huh.
The news over the past couple of weeks has been the new 911 Turbo model that has been released. And I've been reading up on them, watching different YouTube reviews of them because the embargo was lifted this week. And I have a feeling you're going to have some strong opinions on this one. So, are you aware that as the owner of a brand new, I don't even know, the $200,000+ Porsche 911 Turbo, you are not granted access to your engine?
Excuse me?
So,
hold on. No, just hold on.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
You cannot, as the owner, access the engine.
So I'm borrowing the engine?
I don't know. We've alluded to on previous episodes of this podcast that automakers are trying to make it harder and harder for third-party garages and even shade tree mechanics to work on vehicles. They want to start claiming intellectual property rights, copyright laws, this, that, and the other, whatever legal loopholes they can find to stop people from working on the engines and making sure that it is only the dealer and basically the owner and manufacturer of the engine that can work on, tune, modify, change the engine. And so when I was watching another YouTuber, Doug DeMuro, and he reviewed the Cabrio version of this 911. And the closest you can get to even seeing the engine because of the wing and because of the Cabrio roof, because it is a rear engine vehicle, is the little panel that opens up when you put the top down is the closest you can get. You can see the cooling fans, and that's about it.
So is there not even an access panel?
I'm guessing
no deck lid, no nothing?
Well, there is a deck lid, but the wing is permanently fixed on there, and like you can't open it. I'm guessing it's quite a process to get into the engine.
Wow.
Underneath that panel, I do believe you can add coolant and oil, But that is the extent of it. Like I said, when I was watching that video and I saw that, I was like, wow, they are taking this to new levels. Granted, the community that has the money to afford that vehicle, they're not working on it anyway. They're rich doctors
Well,
taking it somewhere to be serviced. But
yes, but you go back to the third-party guys like John Hennessy in Fort Worth. He had his guys fighting with the ECM on the Camaro or the C7 one. I forget which it was, but GM was so worried about their proprietary tuning on that they literally had to hack into the ECM on those cars in order to do anything with them. And that's it's like they're supposed to grant access to it after a year and a half or something like that. But you're talking performance vehicles. You're talking drivers' cars. People who buy those cars are usually gearhead-minded people that want that experience, that all-encompassing experience of working on their own stuff. At the very least, opening the hood at a car show.
Being able to see it.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. But not even to be able to see it. So, like, you could tell it's back there, but yeah, they don't make it easy for you.
Wow.
So. And next up, another notable new 911 item. You can no longer access your engine. You can't see it. You can't do anything with it. It's not possible. But you can get close. There's a little switch here in the driver's door jamb area, and you can see it as a car with kind of the back open. You pull that switch, and it gets you to here. And then, as you can see, if you look in here, you have access to a few caps for fluid. You have oil and you have coolant in here, and you can put stuff in if your car needs it. But no direct access to the engine, and this is as close to a hood as you will get in the new 911. Porsche actually calls this the service flap, and it's the same part that opens when you go to put the roof up or down. I guess the reason that it doesn't open facing back is that all of the turbo models have a fixed rear wing, so that part had to kind of stay in place, and that meant this is all that you get if you want to check out the powertrain in your 911. At least it says there 3.8 Turbo S to try to remind you that yes, the engine is lurking under there.
This is the world we live in today. So.
Wow. I don't even know what to... wow. Yeah, you definitely dropped that one on me. That's crazy.
So I'll have to share Doug DeMuro's video, put a link in the notes so everyone can see exactly what I'm talking about. I'll shoot you a link as soon as we get done recording, so you can gawk at the wonder that is the lack of involvement with the engine. But yeah, that's where we are.
That's crazy.
So, well, that's all we've got for this week's episode. We do have some fun stuff going on, but before I jump into what we've got coming up, the question of the week this week: what is some content or some direction that you would want to see from us in the future? So we've done all sorts of things. We've talked about car buying. We've talked about passionate cars that we've had in our past. We've covered several topics so far, but what do you want to hear more of from us? What direction do you want us to take this channel? So just kind of give us your thoughts and opinions. Give us a shout out on what you want to hear more from us on. That being said, we are about to jump into a little mini series of car fandoms. So there have been many cars over the years of automotive history that have created cult followings, that have sparked quite the followings themselves, that have even created movies, or sometimes movies have created their fandoms. But we've both owned kind of cult vehicles ourselves. You've had your Super Beetles,
Yep.
and that is plural. I had a 5th generation Camaro SS that has quite a following behind it as well. I'm in a Facebook group now for Camaros, even though I don't have it anymore. And I've got some people I talk to about Camaros and Corvettes and stuff like that. But we've got some friends, we've got some connections with much more rare vehicles than we have ever had. We've got people with that have had vehicles with much bigger cult followings, all you Jeep fans. And so we're going to start digging into some of those cult following vehicles, getting owners' opinions and feedback, and getting a little bit of their stories as well. What led them to purchase the vehicle, what's keeping them from trading it in, selling it, what they love about it, what they hate about it. And we're actually going to start next week with my very own brother. So I've alluded to in many episodes past some of his vehicles and the influence they've played in my life, but now we'll actually get to hear from him firsthand. And he's owned some pretty awesome cars, and I've had the privilege of getting to drive most, if not all of them, over the years, and even shared with y'all in our manual transmission episode some embarrassing stories that happened from one of them. But that's what we've got coming up. Look forward to talking with my brother Clayton and seeing what he's got to say. But until then, bye.